Hey there guys, I am the Sixth Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. So in the Sunday preview we got to see a huge amount of stuff for both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k coming very soon, but two of the surprise things were a new combat patrol box for both the Necrons and the Space Marines. And we have already covered the Necron box, so I wanted to take a quick look at the Space Marine box, go through what's in it and whether it's worth getting or not. And first up, you may notice something quite obvious. This is indeed the current Start Collecting Vanguard set, and unlike some people thought, this isn't some kind of updated kit with both incursors and infiltrators. The original Warhammer community article had a slight mistake in it, but it has now been corrected, and yes, these are 100% the same monopose standard sprue which you will recognise from the initial Shadow Spear release. The big difference about this combat patrol box is that in addition to all of the Marine Shadow Spear stuff, you are also getting an Impulsor along in the deal. So right out of the gate, the current Start Collecting box is £60, and this combat patrol box will presumably be £85, so an increase of £25 to get an Impulsor, which is usually costed at £45. That's actually pretty good, giving you a saving of around £20 or so over buying the two kits separately. It's not as much as we tend to see with the other combat patrol boxes, which have somewhere in the region of a £40 to £50 saving usually. But with this one, you have to remember the £60 Start Collecting box is already on its own a decent little saving over buying all of those kits individually, so you can't quite do a direct comparison between this combat patrol set and some of the others. If we do want to try and break it down, we can look at the Impulsor for £45, the Phobos Lieutenant for £20, 10 Infiltrators for £35, 3 Eliminators for £30, and although suppressors are still several years later not available as an individual kit, if we assume them to be around the £30 price point, that gives us a total individual cost of roughly £160. So coming in at an £85 price, this box could essentially be saving you somewhere in the region of £75, which is a huge amount. Now of course it's worth bearing in mind that these are all monopose kits, as per the Shadow Spear box, so your mileage may vary on how much you value the individual units within the Combat Patrol box, but still, this does appear to be a very good and cheap way of getting some more Primaris units in your army. In terms of the contents themselves, it's something of a mixed bag. All of the units are Phobos, so I think immediately some people will be turned off by this. I personally don't mind a lot of the Phobos and Shadow Spear release units, but I do know that a lot of people really do dislike them, so they might not want to pick up this box at all just because of that. But if you don't mind the Phobos stuff, then the Lieutenant is a passable HQ, although as we all know, there are literally dozens upon dozens of Lieutenant models out there, so you probably have more than enough already. Infiltrators are a very good troops choice, giving you not only that useful concealed positions deployment option, but also bringing some fantastic board control and deep strike protection to your army in the form of their Omni Scramblers. The Eliminators are, whilst a little annoying in that you don't get the las fusel option in the box, also pretty decent because, let's be honest, almost everyone just takes the sniper rifle variants anyway because, well, they're just better. The Impulsor is kinda meh, like a lot of marine vehicles at the moment. It's just a bit too pricey and fragile to really be worth it, but to be honest, with the great value of this box, I would personally be inclined to just sell it, or if you are running a shooty chapter, then a squad of Hellblasters in an Impulsor driving up the board to unleash some plasma into your enemy isn't a terrible way to make use of it. And then finally we have the suppressors. Now I know a load of people hate these models, and even GW seem to be very forgetful and neglectful of them, with still no individual release and seemingly no more support in the future in sight either. They actually aren't all that bad, bringing some very good, relatively cheap long-range firepower to a Primaris list, and in the current meta with a huge amount of Drukhari hitting the tables, actually one of the better options for dealing some solid damage to their 9 raider lists. In terms of the points value for this lot, you are actually also getting a really fantastic deal with around 620 points base for the entirety of the models in the Combat Patrol, and for £85, that really is exceptionally good value, and as always gives you a solid patrol-sized legal force to bring to your first games of 40k, with a good HQ, troops choice, fast attack, heavy support, and a dedicated transport to tie it all together. I do actually really like this Combat Patrol, and whilst on the face of it you could be forgiven for thinking that it's kind of a worse deal compared to the other Combat Patrols, essentially only getting you a £25 saving over buying the Start Collecting and the Impulsor separately, if you actually dig down and cost out the savings made in the Start Collecting and add that into it as well, then you could be pretty much looking at getting half of this box free. At the very least, you can consider yourself getting the Impulsor and the Lieutenant for absolutely nothing. I do think that the big issue with this Combat Patrol is that, having been around for a few years now, the Shadow Spear box and the now Start Collecting box, if you wanted to build up a Phobos force, you would have likely already got everything you needed from those sets by now, and with the rule of 3 and squad size limitations, it is incredibly unlikely that you will be needing to get this box to add any suppressors or eliminators or yet another Phobos lieutenant to your force. Overall though, in general, a really solid box, and for a new Marine player, a genuinely fantastic way to get a really strong 600 odd points list ready for some games, which looks good, is incredibly cheap for how many models you get, and is actually decently solid on the tabletop, giving you a few options for long range firepower, some good units to put in the Impulsor with the Lieutenant and if you combat squad 5 of the Infiltrators, and then you can just use the other 5 as a small squad to help zone out enemy deep strikers or go around claiming objectives on the board. But what do you think of the Space Marine Combat Patrol? Do you think it's worth it, seeing as how it's all monopose kits? How do you think it compares to, say, the Dark Angels or the Blood Angels or the Space Wolves Combat Patrol boxes instead? And will you be picking up any of these to add to your Marine force? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I will catch you later, guys.